Hello, welcome to the Morning Serve. I'm McArdle. Casey Dellacqua is with us today, and we are previewing the women's semi-finals, beginning with Svitolina v Sabalenka. Now, Svitolina, she's in irresistible form. What's that down to?
Look, I think a big part of it, Nick, is perspective. And I know it might sound a little bit silly, but in terms of life experience and maturity and what you bring to the game plays a big part in a player's performance. So I think the fact she's had that time off, she's obviously given birth, she's come back, she's had time to reflect upon some of the things perhaps in her own game that she's wanted to improve, like be more aggressive. And I think the aggression is something we've seen pretty evident in the game of Svitolina. She's always had a great defensive game. I remember playing her and feeling like she was definitely one of the players that was so relentless from the back of the court in terms of her defense. She's also improved her serve and got some more pace and serve with a bit of variety. So I think as a whole, just putting all that together along with that perspective has certainly made her the complete player at the moment.
Form and momentum count for so much at this end of the tournament. Look at hers heading into here, where we are at the moment. So undefeated so far in 2026. She won in Auckland. Hasn't dropped a set here at the Australian Open, and along the way has beaten 2 top 10 players. So, you know, any other time, if she wasn't perhaps playing Sabalenka, you'd be saying she's the favourite for the tournament. Should we be talking about Aryna Sabalenka in that term?
Yeah, look, I think when we talk about favourites, we're often going off maybe previous history at the tournament, maybe their ranking. Obviously, if you're world number one, you're going to go in more of a favourite. But there is no doubt that Svitolina has a great chance against Sabalenka today, and I think that's really evident in what we've seen and what you've just kind of reeled off with her performances. So, look, I think there is definitely an added element when you're playing the world number one in a semi-final, and the power and the form that has been building off Sabalenka. But I think in terms of Svitolina's game, she has what it takes to be able to challenge Sabalenka, but she has to execute well, she has to serve well, return well, she has to do pretty much everything, you know, at top form. But she's got a good chance.
Yeah.
She definitely has a good chance.
At her age and with her experience, she's understanding her body, she's worked out her schedule, what works best for her. How can some success here set her up for 2026 with all of that in mind?
Yeah, look, I think it's important for Svitolina as well to keep her body healthy. She definitely battled with a couple of injuries when she first came back from giving birth to her daughter. But I think since then, and since she's kept her body right, this is when she's just playing and excelling in her tennis. So it's really important that she stays healthy. But yeah, look, I'm really excited for her 2026 season. I think seeing the form she's been in so far, and when you've had that much court time and you're on a roll and you're winning, they are very, very dangerous players to come up against at the semi-final of a major. Well,
one of those players is standing across the net from her. Aryna Sabalenka's in incredible form. Is it fair to say she's almost, you know, and I know it's early in the year, but almost taken her game to another level from what you've seen here?
Yeah, she's definitely added elements to her game that have been fantastic to see. One being that transition game, so from the back of the court, being much more aware when she gets players on defense, when the ball goes up in the air, to take it out of the air. Also seen her serve volley through this tournament, which is a really great addition with the addition to Max Mooney in her team. So look, those two kind of things are certainly something that I've seen more of from Sabalenka. And then the serve has been fantastic. And she's just been building, Nick. So against Potapova, really challenged. That was still probably one of the best matches for me in the tournament so far. That was a great match. And then the next match, she played even better against Mboko, challenged again, but moments where she was unplayable. Then she plays Iva Jovic, and it was raised another level, 6-3, 6-love. But the scoreline was much tighter. But Sabalenka has been building.
And does that come from a bit of experience too, knowing how, and Djokovic does the same thing, sometimes you see him in early rounds, struggles a little bit and then just, you know, works his way through. If you've won Grand Slams and you know how to pace yourself through the draw, how significant is that? Yeah,
I was actually talking to our fellow colleague Sam Smith about this, and how there's almost been this now expectation that we expect these players to play at their best from the first round. And it's just such a unreasonable, I think, thing to think that you've got to get through 7 matches and play at your best for the entirety of the tournament. So I think that's been key for Sabalenka, just her showing up on the day with what she feels and how she's playing, but managing to find ways to get through. And as long as you're building and you're building form, that's probably where you want to be at the semi-final stages. You don't want to be playing your best tennis in the first week. So I do think that that's exactly what Sabalenka's shown over this last 10 days so far, is just that kind of small increment improvements in each match, and I think she's building pretty nicely.
And the other thing, Casey, that drives home just how much Aryna Sabalenka loves it here, she is going for her 7th straight Grand Slam hard court final. What is it about the courts here and the US Open that she loves so much?
Well, I think she obviously has so much power, and she's got the ability in certain conditions, whether it's windy or a little bit cooler, to hit through the ball. But I think the fact that she's also got a bit more time on the ball, particularly here in Melbourne. The US Open is a little bit quicker and a bit more faster, but here at the Australian Open, it's like a perfect court for her to have a little bit more time on the ball, to be able to set up and then just crunch her forehand and crunch those shots that we're so used to seeing. So I think, and also when it's lively and hot down under here, she's got the kick serve to be able to get it out of her opponent's strike zone as well. So I think it's just a combination of then. I think underneath her feet, she moves much better and much more balanced on a hard court too.
All right, how do you see this one playing, like scoreline sets?
Yeah, look, I do think it will be tight, and I think Svitolina is definitely going to throw the kitchen sink and I think she's feeling fresh. So that's important to note as well with Svitolina in terms of court time that she's had. But I do think Sabalenka will get through this one. All
right, and the second semi-final, Rybakina and Jessica Pegula. So we'll talk about this one, but let's wind the clock back a little bit. Rybakina, so comprehensive over Iga Swiatek. Did you see that coming?
Yes and no. It was all reliant on Rybakina's first serve. And at the beginning of the match, she wasn't so convincing. And I did think, we're in for maybe a Swiatek kind of favoured match where she could get Rybakina on the move. But all of a sudden, once Rybakina locked in and her first serve started going, she was hardly losing points behind her first serve. Plus, she was serving aces, and then it freed her up on return, and then all of a sudden, it was pretty convincing. So, no, I'm not overly surprised. She's been a standout performer so far in the Australian Open here.
Just to drive home the point about the serve, so 11 aces against Swiatek. Now she's easily leading the women's draw with 35. Is that all about, or mostly about height? She is a tall woman.
She is tall. She's an extremely tall player, but with that height, Nick, yes, it's such an advantageous thing to have when you're a server, because you've got more ability to find angles with that height. But what she also, I think, has improved is her movement. Just that ability to be at a ball half a step quicker has helped her, because she's tall, but she's so agile. It's the modern game. The players are tall, they move so well, and that makes for a very tricky opponent when they're playing really well. Just
a quick thought on Iga Swiatek before we get to Jessica Pegula, but so she's still never made the final here. Do you have a thought on that? And can you see it? She's still only young. Can you see it happening in the future?
I can, because she has won a US Open before, so she certainly knows how to play, and she's won at Wimbledon. She knows how to play on every surface. It is just very hard to win majors, and look, I think she came up against a better opponent, but I've seen some positive things from Swiatek in terms of her aggression and things that she's trying to do on the court. So I think we will. She's still so young as well, Nick. These players, they're still, I don't think, how old is Iga? Maybe 23, 24? Pretty young still. So look, she's got a long time playing here down under.
All right. If Rybakina is to win today against Jessica Pegula, where does she target? Where does she go?
Well, I think, in my opinion, when Rybakina is playing at her best, she's one of the top 3 players in the world. So I think in terms of her game, she's very technically reliable in terms of her serve and her game. Often it's just how she shows up and how she's feeling. We've seen her excel, and she's already a major champion. So her season's looking pretty amazing.
Jess Pegula over Amanda Anisimova. And this was, I think, the quarterfinal that everyone was looking forward to. What did you make of the way that turned out? And there were ebbs and flows which perhaps the scoreline doesn't necessarily reflect.
No, it was a tight one. And look, I think there's been a lot of talk about Amanda Anisimova, probably more so. Pegula's probably gone through a little bit more under the radar. But that match against Madison Keys, I commentated that one, and I was so impressed with Jess Pegula. I thought she neutralised the big serve of Keys so well, which is going to be so important against Rybakina in this match. And then she just absorbed the pace great. And I actually, Nick, before the tournament, I went out and I took a bunch of girls and we went out and watched Jess Pegula's practice prior to main draw starting. And she was doing a heap of work on her transition game, coming forward, heaps around the net. And I just think that she's worked on so many elements of her game. She's had a taste of, being in the final of a major, and she wants more. She's also 31, experienced. So look out, Jessica Pegula. She's looking really good.
Yeah, 31, 32 in February. Given that, and it's pretty hard to make a semi-final, pretty hard to make a final of a Grand Slam. How important is this opportunity at that stage of the career and the need to make the most of it?
Oh, it's super important. Time isn't on her side, but she's still got years of tennis left ahead of her. But these are her prime years where she wants to be winning these majors. So for Jessica Pegula, I actually think this matchup against Rybakina is a very similar one to when she played like a Maddie Keys or even Anisimova to an extent with the big ground strokes and the big hitting. So she's dialed in terms of that pace of shot and what she's going to expect from Rybakina. So I am excited for this one.
And who wins it?
Well, look, I think they're 3 apiece so far. So they know each other's games well. I'm just buying myself some time.
I know exactly what you're doing.
Look, I'm going to go with Pegula.
Yeah.
I'm going to back her in terms of her ability, like I said, to neutralise that big serve of Rybakina. I think she's serving well herself, and I think her ground strokes and her back court game is looking really solid.
All right, we won't have to wait long to find out if you're spot on.
Let's see.
There you go. Keep an eye out for that one. Thanks for your company today on The Morning Serve. I'm Nick McArdle. Bye for now.
WWOS Sports is your home of the Australian Open. From highlights of the best players, every magic Aussie moment, and the best expert analysis.
We'll have every nail-biting, heartwarming and edge-of-your-seat point covered. Subscribing to Wide World of Sports on YouTube is a must for any tennis fan.